What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPapa, and today we have no graphs, no charts, no data dives. We're going to be talking about Warren Buffett's 10 rules to riches and how I apply them in the Pokemon space. And that might sound really, really weird, right? Because Warren Buffett obviously is a big stock market investor, and you know, stocks and Pokemon cards literally could not be more different, right? When you buy a stock, you're buying an actual ownership share in a company, and you're entitled to the future growth of that company or the future demise of that company, right? You take part in the good and the bad. Now, when you are buying a Pokemon card, you are buying cardboard and ink, and that's it, right? You're buying it at a certain price today with the hopes that in the future, you know, the value of that, the desire for that is going to go up, and somebody will pay more in the future than you paid for today, but it doesn't generate any revenue, right? Like businesses actually make money, like it doesn't spin off any dividends, like it is just an object. That is it. It is a collectible. That is it. And you're hoping that in the future, somebody wants it more than you do. But I will say this, I've been investing in the card market for 20 years now, a little over 20 years at this point. And I am a big, big believer that there's a lot of principles from the stock market that you can pull over into the cardboard market, and they really make a lot of sense. And they've always helped guide me and keep me kind of in line. And as I go through this, I'll tell you how a lot of these principles have helped me be successful over the last 20 something years, and how they could possibly help us as we continue to navigate this awesome space that is Pokemon collecting and investing. Now, I will say this, I am a student of whatever I'm into. I believe that it is foolish for us not to learn from people who have been successful in the past trying to do what we're doing in the future, right? So if I want to be a great investor, why would I not read everything that I can, listen to every audiobook that I can from previous investors and see what kind of lessons I can learn, what they did right, what they did wrong, like what their strategy was. That is the fastest way to level yourself up, in my opinion. And I don't normally do this, but I will put an affiliate link down below for one of the Warren Buffett books that it's out. It's called Snowball. I have listened to it no less than 30 times. I absolutely love it. And I think a lot of the principles can really be applied here into the Pokemon space. So we're going to talk about that. And you know what? Why not jump into it right now? So number one is reinvest your profits. And one of the things that I love so freaking much about the Pokemon space is anybody can start trying to build a collection or an investment portfolio or even a Pokemon business here with a small amount of money, right? You could absolutely buy singles cards for $5, $10, $15 and you can sell it for, you know, 10, 15, 20% more in a relatively short amount of time, especially if you are really, really savvy, you know, hunting on spaces like eBay or Facebook Marketplace. Now, look at line number 5, which is watch small expenses. Like, we're going to talk about that because remember, if you buy something for $10 and you sell it for $15, almost always you never actually collect all $5 of that upside, right? There's a lot of expenses that have to go into that, and we have to make sure that we're aware of it. But the reality is here, you can start building that snowball. Your first couple snowflakes could be some small singles cards. Then you could work up your way into some Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, right? Like we know if you pre-order them, almost always after they launch, after pre-order, there's an increase in value. You know, you could work your way into booster boxes and booster box cases, and you really can snowball your way into an awesome, you know, either investment collection or into a small business here in the Pokemon space. And that's what I absolutely love. Now, quick story about me and how I've built my snowball through a few snowflakes is we own a vending machine business, which sounds really crazy, but it is a fantastic little business. You know, we started off with a small number of machines and we worked really hard and we got them placed. And then those small number of machines were able to help pay for the next machine. So we went from 3 to 5, and then those 5 were cranking, and then we were able to go from 5 to 6, and then 6 to 7, and then once we got to 7, you know, it was making enough money that we were able to, you know, pretty easily buy more machines. And we've snowballed that into the fact that we now have 15 machines that are out there cranking and making money, you know, every single week for us. And the reality is at the end of every month, there's enough money left over that if there's a great opportunity to buy a new machine or a new location, we do it. We don't think about it. And we've never pulled a single nickel from that business because we're solely focused on growing it. Now, what else did I do? I've got PikaPikaPapa. Now, it doesn't make any money at all compared to the time that I put into it. But the reality is it's another couple snowflakes. So the LLC that we run our vending machine business with, we created a DBA under it, and PikaPikaPapa rolls up into it. So whatever small money YouTube pays me every single month, that money goes into our business account. So now we have the vending machine business money, we have the PikaPikaPapa money that rolls into there, and I invested into all kinds of things. I got new lights, new cameras. You know, we spent $300 on the children's cancer charity event that we did last year, thanks to a partnership from a lot of you watching this channel. And so really the business didn't make any money, but we're snowballing snowballing it, right? We're building it. And I'm so excited that anybody can do that here in the Pokemon card space. It is just one of the coolest things out there. Now, number two, we talk about this principle a lot. It's willing to be different. And really, when I say I want to buy what will go up, not what has gone up, that's what I'm talking about. Because the things that are going up, especially if you catch it at the late tail up, like everybody's frothing at the mouth over it, right? Influencers are talking about it. People are pumping it up on eBay and Facebook. And you never want to be late to the party because it's really hard to make money and when you're buying things at all-time highs. So I always say, hey, listen, let's try and look for those undervalued. Let's try and look for those unloved products right now. So while everybody's looking to the right, we're always trying to look to the left. Don't be afraid to be different. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some great opportunities when products are at all-time highs, right? Like Evolving Skies Booster Box is a great example of one where it's close to an all-time high right now, and I'm telling you right now, I think it has tons and tons and tons of room to keep on running. So that's not a hard, fast rule, but I am always looking for underloved, underappreciated, and kind of overlooked products that I think have the opportunity to grow in the future. So don't ever be afraid to be different. Don't ever be afraid to go against the grain. Like that's how real fortunes are made, is finding these unloved assets before they pop off. Now, number three is something I personally struggle with. Never suck your thumb. As you can tell, I am very, very data oriented. So sometimes the data points me in a direction and I even share it with you all. And I'm like, hey, listen, I think this is a great buy. But then as soon as I turn the camera off, I do some more analysis. I'm like, well, I just need some more time to think about it, right? And then work happens. And then I spend some time with my beautiful family. And next thing I know, it's 2 or 3 weeks down the road and I go back and I'm like, oh, I forgot I should really pick this up. And it's up 15 or 20% from the last time we talked about it. So that doesn't mean that every time it's going to be correct. But listen, don't suck your thumb means arm yourself with the right information, arm yourself with enough data so that you can feel really confident about a buy. And then if you think it's there, freaking pull the trigger on it. Don't be like me. Don't wait. Don't suck your thumb. If you think there's a great opportunity, pull the trigger and then see where it lands out. Now, number four, spell out the deal before you start. And this is a lesson from the book Snowball. So Warren Buffett and his buddy, when they were little kids, were summoned to their grandfather's grocery store because it had snowed a lot and the parking lot was overrun with snow. So they were tasked with cleaning out the parking lot, which they did. It took them like 5 hours. They were frozen to the bone. They went in and the grandfather gave them 90 cents, not each, but to split. So Warren talks about, hey, listen, that was the lesson where I learned I always negotiate the deal on the front end. And that's not necessarily applicable here in the Pokemon space, you know, unless you're out there trying to wheel and deal on Facebook Marketplace or something. But for me, that just means that, hey, listen, I want to set some expectations before I get into anything. I want to understand, hey, like, how much do I think the upside is here? What do I think the downside risk is? Do I have an exit plan for this? You know, do I think that, hey, if this doubles in value over the next 12 months, do I want to do something I don't normally do and sell the product and go ahead and take some of the profit and reinvest it into something new? So when it says spell out the deal before you start, for me, it simply is setting some parameters before I get into anything, because I think it's really important. It's easy for us in this amazing hobby to kind of overlook things after we put them in the poker closet. So having a deal before you start is incredibly important. And then number five, we talked about this earlier, watch the small expenses. I cannot stress enough how important this is, okay? So when we buy something for $10 and we sell it for $15, a lot of us think, hey, listen, I have actually made $5 in profit. But we got to realize if you sell it on a third-party platform, right, there's seller fees, there's shipping fees. Like, you've got to buy the tape, you've got to buy the padded envelope. Like, what if it's in a top loader or a penny sleeve or a card saver one? You know, what about the tape that you use to close it up? And let's not forget about that little thing called taxes if you're really going to do this the right way. So I will tell you this, there are a few groups of people I don't mess with. I don't mess with my wife, I don't mess with my parents, and I don't mess with Uncle Sam. You know, a lot of people in the vending business kind of keep cash under the table, but not me, right? Like, I report every single nickel that this vending machine business makes. Number one, like I said, I don't want to mess with Uncle Sam. But number two, like I said, when I talk about having an exit plan, right? Like, my idea is that someday maybe we sell the vending business and we want to reinvest that money into another business, which has equal upside for growth. And I want to be able to take my records to somebody and say, hey, listen, you owe me X amount of dollars for this business, and here's the proof. So I'm a big believer in reporting everything, and you know, I don't mess with Uncle Sam. I'll say that right now. Now, number six, limit what you borrow. This is incredibly important for a couple different reasons. First off, I will tell you this. I would never borrow money if I'm going to do this kind of collection like behind me. Like, I would never borrow money just to be a household Pokemon collector. I just don't think the upside is there. I think the risk is way too high to do that. However, if you wanted to start a small Pokemon business and you feel like you have a buttoned up business plan and you've got a small business lawyer on your side and you've recruited a CPA and you have all your ducks in a row, maybe you take an SBA loan. loan. Maybe you take a small loan to start a business out. But when it says limit what you borrow, I'm telling you right now, like, we have been very fortunate. We started our vending machine business with cash on hand. We've never needed to take on any debt to do that. And that has really helped us be successful. And as I said in point number one, like, you can do that very easily with a small amount of money here in the Pokemon business. I certainly would not. I mean, brick and mortar stores are really struggling right now. The online retail space is absolutely overrun. You know, like eBay, the seller fees are so high. I would not be borrowing any money right now. You want to play with house money, play it, but I would not be borrowing money here in the Pokemon space. And then number 7 is the number one most important thing on this list, and it is the one thing that has served me best in my entire cardboard collecting career, is be persistent. 20-something years ago, I decided that, listen, baseball and basketball were the hot card collecting spaces. I was a big believer that football was going to overtake those two in the next couple years, however many years. And I started investing in NFL Hall of Fame rookie cards, and they were way underloved. They were way overlooked compared to the baseball peers. I mean, you could pick them up for pennies on the dollars of all-time greats. And I was very persistent with that. And there were years and years and years and years where I saw zero gain. I'm telling you right now, $0 gains, but I was building my collection. I was building my set. I was emotionally involved in it. Like, I loved football. I love these players. I love the history of the game. And so I say that because we might hit those patches here in the Pokemon space where we will see years and years and years of no gains, but that is fantastic, because what I saw back then was people would leave the hobby. They'd be like, oh, there's no money here, and they're going to leave the hobby. But guess what? These markets, they spike. We hit these crazy spikes and then they come back down. But even when they come back down, you still retain some of the gains from the spikes. And if you miss one or two of those spikes over a 20-year investment horizon, you're going to miss a lot of your upside potential. So I'm telling you right now, be persistent. If this is something you really want to do, stick with it. The reality is a lot of people watching this will not still be invested in the card market in the next 10 to 15 years, which is fine by me. Again, I've seen that happen. But the best thing you can do is be persistent and stick with it if it's something you really want to do. Now, when not to be persistent, the counterpoint of that is know when to quit. And by that I mean, if you have sunk some money into a particular Pokemon investment and it has dropped like a crater and you don't see any end in sight, then it is okay to go ahead and sell that product and reinvest it into something that you think has better upside, okay? So knowing when to quit is incredibly, incredibly important. I've talked about the vending business that was successful. Guess what? I've opened several other businesses that haven't been successful, right? I've had to take a loss. I live in Florida. I live in Hurricane Alley, right? I remember one time I needed a generator because a hurricane was coming and I couldn't find one. So as soon as the hurricane passed, I ordered a couple pallets, not individual, but pallets of generators. And I started a business called generator rental business, right? And I thought the next time the hurricane comes, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be able to rent out all these generators. Well, guess what? We didn't get a hurricane in 3 years. So I had to sell all the freaking generators further down the road because they took up my whole garage. So anyways, I knew when to quit on that one. And you're going to have these opportunities. You're going to have times where you think, hey, listen, this is going to be a home run, and it just doesn't work out. Now, if it's a part of the personal collection, you can hold it forever, no problem. But if it truly is part of your business or part of the investing side of things, don't be afraid to cut bait and get out when the time is right. Now, number 9, we talk about this all the time, assess the risk. I call it protecting the downside. I spend way more time looking at the downside risk than I do looking at the upside potential. Assessing the risk is incredibly important, and I think it is incredibly impactful for us to think about here in the Pokemon space because, again, you know, there's not a lot of true value to the cards. Like, we're really hoping that the Pokemon Company International is going to continue to grow this thing. Obviously, I'm heavily invested in this. Obviously, I think they will. But whenever I am buying either singles or booster boxes or cases or PC ETBs, I always spend more time looking at the downside versus the upside. I think we are so fortunate and so blessed to be in a space where sealed, I think that the risk on sealed is just, it's there, but it is so small in my mind. I think that even if the Pokemon Company goes through a really rough patch in 3, 5, 10 years, I think 20 years down the road, you know, there'll be plenty of upside for it. So we shall see. And then number 10 is so critically important, is know what success really means. I have found so much joy in the Pokemon space. First, I found it because it was a hobby I was able to share with my wife and my kids, much more so than the sports card space. Then I found the PikaPikaPaPa channel, and I absolutely love and cherish every video I get to do with you guys in the comments, and it fills me with so much joy, and it's provided me with a whole different level of purpose. I have purpose as a father, I have purpose, you know, in my work world, and then, you know, this gives me another purpose, and it just brings me a lot of joy. But you should define what success looks like, and it doesn't mean that it has to be the same. You know, your success is going to change. You can write it down every 6 months or every year or whatever. I know at the beginning of every year, I write down what success for the upcoming year will look like for me. You know, but for me, long-term success, listen, I talk about selling things in 15, 20 20 years, I'm hoping that my other investments will be successful enough so that in 15, 20 years, I don't have to sell any of this. I would really love it if I could open up some form of card shop where, you know, I don't want to invest money into it, but I want it to pay for itself, right? I want it to generate enough revenue, but I also don't want to take profits from it. So I really want to open like a nonprofit card shop that makes good money, where it can pay a great salary to the staff and it can cover the rent and, you know, it can cover the electric and all of that, but something where profit is secondary, because I just want a space where I can show off the collection that at that point I've been putting together for 45, 50 years, a place where people can come and gather, a place where prices can be competitive with the internet, right? Because right now local card shops, they have to turn a profit. You know, they've got to pay the owner, like they've got to do all of that. Well, if profit was secondary, if I didn't care about making a profit at all, I think I could really be more competitive from a pricing standpoint. So long-term success here in the PikiPikaPapa space, that is what I would love to do. Short-term success for me is continue to enjoy this hobby with my loved ones, continue to enjoy this channel with you all, and just continue to think about how awesome this is and continue to grow my collection. So listen, I hope you all found value in this. This was a ton of fun for me to do. One slide, just hit here and have a conversation with you. And listen, hey, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. Again, there's a link to the book Snowball here in the description. It's a really, really cool book. And if you guys want to hear more about different investment philosophies or different lessons that I've learned over the years, happy to share that, but you got to let me know, because again, I only create content that you guys find value in, so let me know. All right, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have an epic one. Talk to you later. See you.